Cow goes moo, dog goes wolf, and the cat says meow. Hey, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Writer's Bookshelf. So we're back again to have yet another writer's resource that you should absolutely have on your bookshelf. And today's book is actually one you're not going to find in the bookstore. You will have to totally get this one online. And any book from its series, which I will talk about in later episodes, you'll also need to get online. But they're absolutely worth it. And if you care anything about telling good stories with believable characters and believable situations, you will definitely want to get into this series, and with our first book in particular. And I'm going to actually kind of rank a little bit and go to the website where you can find more information out about this series, just because what you'll find is that the books are kind of limited in what they offer, because the people who put the books together, they're constantly updating their database online. But we'll get to that at the end of the video. But I do want to show you what you're going to get out of this. So our book today is called The Emotions Thesaurus, and you'll notice that I have the second edition. I actually had the first edition in my shelf, but it's a lot thinner than this, and it's basically all the same stuff that's in here, plus, but this one has more, obviously. The other thing too is the differences between this edition and the original edition is this one also has a different layout and going over what writers actually need. We'll talk about that. So the purpose of this book is actually it's designed. It's a thesaurus in that it has these different emotions in there that connect to each other. But it's more. I would even say it's more like a dictionary. You know what? Let me just show you. Instead of just talking about, let me just show you what I'm talking about. If you open up a random page, you see an emotion called doubt there. And what it does is it gives you all these attributes on doubt. It gives you what the definition is. In this case, it's to lack confidence in order. Sorry, I can't. It's early in the morning. I'm trying to wake up a little bit. To lack confidence in or consider unlikely. Okay. And then what it does is it gives you these categories that reflect doubt in some way. So you have physical signals and behaviors. And it gives you a long list of things that your character might do to show doubt. So that includes one's brows drawing closer, the face tightening, looking down or away, avoiding eye contact, pressing the lips together, shuffling one's feet, and so on. And this is just the first 5 of an entire list of things down here. And then as it goes on, excuse me, you'll get into something called internal sensations. So it's the ribs that tighten slightly, like quiver in the stomach. And then you have the mental responses, things like worrying over the current path, looking ahead to possible collateral damage, second guessing a prior decision, like in choosing someone for the job or supporting an idea. And then you have the acute or long-term responses for this emotion. So you might have things like avoiding speaking or agreeing openly. Again, this is for the category of doubt, if you've already forgotten. Looking for ways to distance oneself from the situation. And again, so on. And then you have signs that this emotion is being suppressed. So this one's interesting because this is where these are like the nonverbal cues that show the emotion exists, but the character is not allowed to show it. So you have coughing as one agrees or supports a doubtful decision or stance, mimicking confidence like straightening, speaking in a booming voice, etc., lying or misleading others. And then what's really great too is you have this the series, or this section that says may escalate to or may de-escalate to. What this is this is where the thesaurus part comes in play. Not that the others aren't thesaurus related, but when you have right here, you have an entire bank of words in which you can also look up to see where, let's say, if they have, if your character doubts and then something provokes that doubt and it continues to intensify, it may ultimately lead to a different emotion. So it may lead to worry, may lead to unbelief, may lead to unease, and so on. And so what this book will do is it'll give you a reference of where that particular definition is in the book, and then you can go to that page and see how your character might respond if he escalates to the next level of, again, worry, disbelief, unease, whatever. And then de-escalation, which is new to this volume, and the first edition did not have this, is where you go backward. You go back to whatever came first. So it may de-escalate to skepticism, confliction, or curiosity. And then you also have power verbs in here. So these are the verbs you might want to use to in your narrative to show this character reflecting the doubt without having to spell out the scene. So like in the original, like the physical signals and behaviors, like those are full-on actions that your character might take. But if you don't want to necessarily develop those actions, you might go to the power verbs. So you have words like backpedal, challenge, counter, and so on. So that's where this book shines. Is it has an entire category of elements that you can use to show how this particular attribute is being portrayed through your character or characters. And then at the bottom you have the writer's tip. That's the box here. And then this is just this is not necessarily connected to the word itself. It's just, this would be like the ongoing instruction throughout the book. So in this case, the writer's tip is, when steering your characters through scenes that allow for emotional growth, don't forget to also provide setbacks. The path to enlightenment isn't smooth for anyone, including our characters. So nothing to do with doubt. It's just part of the ongoing reference for writers to consider when they're, setting up their story. So these, this particular thesaurus, and then most of them in general, will also have an entire front end. And this is the benefit of having the books versus the site, is you have it's kind of like in the Writer's Digest tradition or the Writer's Market tradition, where you would front load it with articles and then you get into the meat of what the book is. But like you have all these essays in the front that kind of help you prepare for why you need to include character emotions. So each thesaurus has its own series of articles that help you to realize what or how to set up your character. So like character research, what to know to write authentic emotion, and this is where they talk about emotional range, important people, impactful experiences, and so on. Then you have baseline reactions, demonstrative or reserved, and so on. And then you have a section on using dialogue to write emotion. So it's an all-purpose book. And then again, this is the second edition. If you do have, if you're unfamiliar with this book and you have the first edition, if you're not sure why you should get the second edition, the main advantage is this one has, the original I think had 70, actually I have the original, I'm going to just grab that. Okay, so this is the original first edition. As you can see, it's a lot thinner than the new one, so you're clearly getting more out of the second edition. So that in itself is worth the extra purchase. But also in the categories, you'll see that in the original, you had fewer sections. And I think if we go to doubt on this one, if doubt's even represented, yeah, doubt is in this one too. Hopefully you can see that. In this particular one, it does open with a lot of the same elements. So you have the same definition. The first few definitions are the same. So in that regard, you're not going to have a lot of difference. But I do think, let me just make sure that we know exactly whether or not we need to, or not. I mean, you're going to want to obviously use the second edition, but most of the definitions that are featured in the original are repeated in the second edition, but I want you to see the differences in the second page. I'm just gonna have to hold it upside down because I'm not coordinated, but on this side here is the first edition, over here it's the second. I mean, you can see the second page goes on a lot more, because in the first edition, we did have the tip of the day and all that, but what we didn't have is the escalations or de-escalations. And then, oh no, I'm sorry, we did have it, but it was all part of the, it was kind of stuffed in there with the cues of acute or long term. The original did have the escalations, but not the de-escalations. And the thing with the second edition is there's more escalations. So like with the original, you may escalate to worry, disbelief, and unease, but in this one, you have those things plus suspicion and insecurity. which I think were actually added. I don't think it's that this one leaves them out. I think it's because the new one adds those definitions. But then you also have, in the second edition, you have the de-escalations and the associated power verbs, which the original does not have. So that's an example of some of the things that are new. And then I think the second edition, I think has a couple extra essays that the original didn't have, if I'm not mistaken. It's certainly, oh yeah, it's so much shorter. This is like 13 pages of introduction. This is 26 pages. Now I do know that a couple of them have been kind of fanned out a little bit, but you're still going to get more. So the second edition, if you have the original, you will want the second edition, and if you don't have either, you're going to want the second edition. But the Emotional Thesaurus is it's the first in this long-going series by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. I hope I'm saying her name right. But they do run a site called One Stop for Writers, which is where their online thesauruses hang out. And I'll go ahead and show you guys as I tail at the end of this, just to look out for a few things. But the other thing I want to remind you too is that the Emotion Thesaurus has a companion book that's an ebook only, and it's called The Emotion Amplifier. And so I think it's like 99 cents to get online. It's not expensive, but it's one that you're going to also want to have on hand. But before I show you the or do I want to show you now? You know, let me show you the site, and then I'll come back and wrap this up and tell you why I think you should still have the books. So if you go to writershelpingwriters.net, you can come to their main webpage where they have their links to their guides, their tools, and their software, and then you're going to get a sense of who they are. And then down here you'll see some of the articles that they posted, and you'll also get a run of their entire list. So this Emotions Amplifier is the one that kind of goes with Emotions Thesaurus, and it's ebook only. I think you can get a PDF also, but it's short. It's I think 15 samples in there, and then some of these other ones I'm going to cover throughout the season. So I'll give you more info on those in future weeks here. But if you want to just read up on their blog, you can go to their blog here, and then what's nice about their blog is you can see what the latest thesaurus is that they're working on. So right now I believe it's the Relationships Thesaurus as of April. When this goes live, I don't know if they'll still be doing relationships or if they have a different one. Have to give the web a little bit of time to load here, but yeah, you can see it's a good place to come to just for extra information. And then if you want to get a free entry, so like the Relationship Thesaurus, Godparent versus Child, you just click on it, and you can see that they'll have an entire thread on what that particular relationship item is. Again, forgive my internet's slow as usual. Hopefully yours will be faster. Yeah, so here you go. So they will keep up with these throughout their whenever they do a new thesaurus, they'll post the new entry every week. It's like I think it's like on Saturdays, I think they want to post, whatever March 13th was. But you can see the general format that they go for when they do post. Boy, this is not a good for demonstration. My poor internet. And then if you want to actually go to their main site for One Stop for Writers, this is where their other online dictionaries live. So this is the one that costs a subscription to have. I think it's $9 a month or $90 a year. Yes, I got that right. Oh, you can do 6-month trials too. But you get a free trial also. But if you go to this place here, you have the thesaurus here. We also have a character builder, which is actually pretty decent. There's a lot of things worth it for exploring. This is beyond the scope of this video, so I'll let you explore this on your own. I will have a link in the website or in the description on how to get to these two websites, so you can explore it on your own. But if you go to the thesaurus button, you'll see their full list of different items here. And so you'll find the emotions and emotions amplifiers on there. So if I click on the Emotions Thesaurus, you'll see a lot of the same elements that we've had, including doubt, which should be down here. Of course, if I click on doubt, it's not unlocked, so I'm going to end up getting the note that I need a trial. But you'll see a quick sample of some of the things that we have, including the 5 things I listed earlier. But yeah, this is it's a pretty good site to have if you're the kind of person who keeps up with subscriptions and you do like to have things immediately online, then doing the online subscription I think probably makes a lot of sense, especially since some of their dictionaries they have on here, or Thesaurus that they have, they're not actually in print. So the ones that are currently in print are the ones you see listed here in the italics down here. And then there's actually one they didn't list. But they have, oh, they didn't list the occupations one on here? Oh. Looks like they need to play catch up. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't see all of their thesauruses on here unless I'm just not paying attention. Or maybe there's talents and skills in there. Anyway, some of these are not going to have books. Like if you go to colors and patterns, like you can see an example of some of the things that they offer. If you click on blue, this is an example of one that's open to everybody, no matter who you are, but you can see what they offer. These are not going to be in books only because there's not enough to make a book. So that's the other example of having the subscription, is you get to have access to all of their content immediately. But that's up to you to decide if you need that or not. But I wanted to show you what their site looks like so that if the books are not enough, you know where to go to get more content. So as you can see, the website really is important to look at. If you don't mind paying the subscription, then I think obviously it's worth investing in One Stop for Writers, because you're going to get all the thesaurus. So you may ask, oh, why do I need a book then? Well, honestly, I think you're going to have to make that decision for yourself. Maybe you don't want the book. Maybe you would rather just use their site. I do think that if you want to stay current and up to date with what they're offering, then of course you should probably just go with their subscription. But the nice thing about having the book is, again, it's a print book. It's something you have in your hand that you can just grab off your shelf. And if you don't want to have to log in and try to find your way around, certainly you can just go to the emotion that you're looking for and then try to adapt what their suggestions are to the text. And I've done it. One thing about these books in particular is I'm not very good at referring back to my own books in the heat of the moment, because I just want to get the story written. But I have on occasion gone back, and when I really get stuck for an idea for how I can show this emotion clearly without it being ham-fisted, then I will open my book, and I've used it. It's good. And I also have an article on there somewhere on my website that I think Angela Ackerman actually responded to. So they're really responsive authors. If you go to their site, you can leave comments and they'll respond. So you can have that dialogue. And one thing I like about their site is you can make suggestions of things for them to look at. So overall, I think this is a good series to invest in, and this is a good book to have. And I'm opening this particular block with this one only because A, it's the first, but also because it's the only one in the series, in my opinion, that you're going to keep going back to even during the writing. The others we're going to cover over the next few weeks, I say are more setup oriented, but this one for sure is just ongoing. So even if you just get one, this is the one I think you should have. But again, if you'd rather do the online subscription, that's up to you. But bear in mind, a subscription means you're going to be paying for it every month or every year. This, you buy the book once, and that's it. So it's up to you. You make your decision how you want. But that's the Emotion Thesaurus, in particular the second edition. But I think that these are worth having as resources in order to up your writing game and up your presentation, to give your character more authenticity and to make your writing just stronger in general, which is ultimately what we all want to do. So definitely look into it and consider it as part of your library. So, all right. Well, anyway, that said, we're going to do a few more over the next few weeks. So do come back to see what I have to say about the others. So I'm not going to do all of them in a row. There's other books related to other scenes, which we're going to also do later in the season. But for the characters, we're going to do all those fronts. So that's going to be our next few weeks, is referring to their different character development, this sort of stuff. So anyway, come on back, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.